those topics very much like menstruation, and in fact, a great deal of what's already been said this morning could equally be applied to menopause, where it is a taboo subject that we don't discuss. There is very little awareness and education for women and men and families. We do not have safe hygienic spaces at work or even in schools, in hospitals, where women who are experiencing perimenopause and menopause can get some relief, get some support. And interestingly, to one of Leela's first comments about menstruation starting a lot younger or earlier in a woman's life, we're also now seeing that trend with menopause as well, where traditionally menopause begins in your mid to late 40s into early 50s. There are now studies showing that in some parts of the world, women are starting menopause a lot earlier. And so menopause, and again, there's so many similarities. I recently started my PhD, and I'm looking at developing with the Ministry of Labour workplace policies for Trinidad and Tobago employers to support women experiencing perimenopause and menopause, women employees, female employees. But again, just like menstruation, it affects half the planet. Every woman is going to go through menopause or some version of it. If a woman has a hysterectomy, she may go into menopause early. For some women, their menopause is barely noticeable. For other women, their menopause is a completely debilitating, horrendous experience that can last for years. And the same is very true of menstruation. Some women barely know they have a period. Other women have to lie in a dark room for 3 days with ice packs and, just sort of curled up into a ball. So I think there's so many similarities, but fundamentally, we've got to talk about it. We have to make people listen, learn, and that includes the medical profession. Because one of the things that we're seeing now with menopause, the conversations that I'm in, because I'm now studying it in an academic way, is that a lot of gynecologists and medical professionals themselves are very uninformed about menopause and the symptoms. And because every woman's experience is very unique, we may share some symptoms, but we're not going to go through the same exact experience. There's so much to learn and to understand and to study. And traditionally, globally, women's health has been underfunded. And we've seen that. And unfortunately, I think with what's happening in some parts of the world, we're going to continue to see that women's health. If men had periods and menopause, this would have been fully funded, fully studied 200 years ago, and we wouldn't even be discussing it. Unfortunately, because women are experiencing this, it falls in an area of funding where we don't get enough money in research. That is slightly changing, but nowhere near enough. So for me, menopause, when I began my menopause or perimenopause into menopause, there were so many things happening that I just didn't even associate with menopause. I thought it was stress, just getting old. Your bones ache, your shoulder hurts, you just feel stressed and you're tired all the time. And you just think, oh God, that must just be old age and stress. And it wasn't. It was perimenopause and then into menopause. And so I'm really excited to be having this conversation, even though I know we're really talking about menstruation. But when it comes to hygiene and women's health and wellness, this is all on the same spectrum. And if younger women who may not be yet in menopause or perimenopause can start understanding their bodies early, tracking their periods, prioritizing wellness, nutrition, exercise, some of these things. So, for example, one of the major effects of menopause is deteriorating bone health. A lot of women go through menopause and experience terrible osteoporosis and decline of their bone wellness, their bone integrity. So if young women who may say, well, menopause is years, I don't need to worry about that, I'm only 30, you need to start preparing yourself now through your diet and exercise and, getting informed and joining groups to understand the symptoms and so on. Building a support network is really important for certainly women going through menopause and perimenopause. We do have a support group here in Trinidad and Tobago. And social media has really, I think, been phenomenal in pushing the conversation, because there's a lot of advocates now, a lot of celebrities have jumped on the bandwagon. I saw an interview with Halle Berry recently where she was talking about vaginal dryness, and they thought that her boyfriend had given her an STD, but it wasn't. It was a menopause symptom. The doctor didn't know what it was. So even Halle Berry can suffer. So, and these are women who have all sorts of resources at their disposal. So you can imagine how much worse it would be for women of low income, women whose culture doesn't facilitate them having conversations about menstruation or menopause. Last comment, the number of times I have been into Pennywise or a pharmacy in Trinidad, and they put your pads in a black plastic bag, and I take it out of the bag and I put it on top of my trolley and wheel it through Massey stores, because why are we hiding the fact that half the country menstruates?